It is a profound honor for me to welcome you, Your Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana, and members of your delegation to Oslo, Norway. Your Excellency, the decision by the government under your able leadership to open an embassy in Norway signifies your commitment to ensuring that every Ghanaian living abroad is provided with efficient and effective consular services. It also heightens your belief that the contribution of Ghanaians in the diaspora is important and a significant resource in your mission to move Ghana beyond aid.
I don't think there's any doubt that the problems of improving the conditions of life of our people is still out there. There's a lot of work we still have to do to bring up Ghana to where we want it to be. I'm not going to stand here and say that we've created in these 3 years in Ghana a paradise. It's a lie. I would never make that claim. But I will say that looking at the legacy that we inherited, an economy that was going at the lowest it had been for nearly 2 decades, highly indebted country, strangling under debt in virtually all areas, in the energy sector, in the educational sector, in the health sector. Our National Health Insurance Scheme, which was the great legacy of President Kufuor, was virtually moribund. Our energy sector equally compromised by heavy indebtedness, which had brought about the Dumsor phenomenon that even if you didn't live it at the time, you heard about. We had the phenomenon where 100,000 young Ghanaians were dropping out of school at junior high school every year. And the sluggish economy, low wages, high inflation, 15.4% when I took office. It's 7.8 as we speak today. So we're virtually half it. You had rates of interest of the commercial banks were going from 28 to 30 to 32%. They're now 16, 17%. The deficit, we inherited a deficit, a fiscal deficit of 9.3% when I took office in 2017. It is 4.5 as we speak now. All of these are the indications that the economy, the macro indices of our economy have now been put in a really sound place. So we're in a position now to make the big push for investments that we want. And an indication of what is ahead of us was given barely a week ago in the capital markets in London when we went to the market looking for $3 billion worth of money to finance a bond. Investors came with 5 times that amount of money to the table, $15 billion worth. The period of the bond, 41 years, is the longest maturity bond ever issued to any African country south of the Sahara. And to give you an idea of what has happened in between 2017 and 2020, in 2016, when the Mahama government went to the market looking for bond money, they went and received the equivalent amount of money, a 9.75% was the rate on the coupon. The one that we've just issued is 6.35%. To give you a clear idea of the difference and of the sense of confidence that the market has in the manner in which we are managing the economy. The Central Bank of Ghana that had to undertake some very painful reforms of our financial system. The banks that were there at the time we came into office, poorly capitalized, with extremely poor governance practices, and really not fit for purpose in terms of having a banking system that was capable of financing the economic and industrial development of our country. We had to undertake some very painful reforms. The Bank of Ghana did it, but with the full backing of government. Today, we have a banking system that is much more fit for purpose than we've had in a very, very long time. Well capitalized, very liquid, very solvent, and capable now of being able to find money for the private sector to grow the economy of our country. As a result, the Bank of Ghana, the Central Bank of Ghana, was adjudicated the best performing central bank in Africa this year by the Association of Bankers of the World. It is all these are the signs that there are a framework that we need to be able to move this country ahead rapidly are now solidly in place. That's the basis on which I'm going to the election to ask for 4 more Fernandes. Instead of every year 100,000 young men and women dropping out of the educational system at the level of JHS, not because they didn't have the brains, they didn't have the qualification to go further, but because their parents didn't have the means. That has stopped. We have moved from a secondary school population of 800,000 to 1.2 million today as we speak. Means that 100,000 that was dropping out every year is now being captured within the system. Yes, there have been challenges. There are bound to be challenges when you have the same infrastructure having to cope with more people. But we are addressing the issue of infrastructure very, very robustly. And across the country, your relatives will tell you, across the country, every part of the country, the secondary schools in our country are being strengthened in their infrastructure. Dining rooms, classrooms, science laboratories, they're going up all across the country in order to address the issue of the deficit in our infrastructure. We have this problem about the double track. People question me about it. Is it necessary? They say, well, until we're able to deal with the infrastructure that would allow everybody to go in at the same time, we have to improvise. Because the question then becomes, if we don't have the double track, it means some people have to stay at home. And you have, each one of us, we have to look at each other and think, whose child should stay at home? We have to ask ourselves that question. Is it my child who should stay? Well, my children are past secondary school age. Or is it my grandchild who should stay at home? Or is it your child who should stay at home? No, we want both of them to go. And we are using a method that allows both of them to be able to go at the same time. And this double track system is nothing new. Ghana, we're not the first country in the world to be employing. Even almighty United States of America has a double track system, even as far as university education is concerned. Because sometimes they say necessity is the mother of invention. This is the reality. We want as many of our children as possible to go to school. So the infrastructure that we have, we will use it in an intelligent and creative manner. Because think of something. It was the first time this thing ever entered into my head. It was when we were in President Kufuor's government. The senior minister, the great economist, my mentor, J.H. Mensah, one time, this is not any breach of cabinet confidentiality, it's not, made a statement which really, really resonated with me. He said, all of us have to think about the fact that our secondary schools, for 5 to 6 months of the year, they are idle. When you put the holidays together and the terms together, you've almost got nearly 6/6 of when they are in school and then when they are at home. And when they're at home, all those facilities there are just standing idle. It didn't get me into thinking double track, but it made this impression on me that really we have to be thinking about how we can best maximize the use of these resources. And clearly when the idea came from the Minister for Education, I'm happy that you gave him such a rousing reception. He's done a yeoman's job. He's done a yeoman's job for our country. When he came up with the idea of the double track, I bought it immediately. I could see the force of it in terms of what the old fellow J.H. Mensah had said all those years ago. It is not ideal, but in terms of our objective of trying to put everybody into school at this stage is the best that we have, and we'll continue with it until we have the full infrastructure that we need to accommodate all the children all at the same time. In the same manner, we brought the health system in our country back to work. 3 or 4 years ago, when you produce your national ID, national health insurance card, the hospitals, they would ignore it. They say you have to pay. The NHIS never. They didn't the resources are made, the services are rendered, and they're never paid. So we have to go out of our way, with careful husbandry, prudent management, to pay off the indebtedness and then get the service back on track. Today, we are 3-4 months late in the system, which in terms of the way in which the National Health Insurance Scheme works, basically means that we are current. Because you always need about 3 or 4 months to be able to validate the claims that come out of the system before paying. And everybody understands. It's when it goes beyond that, when it goes 6 months, 1 year, then you're beginning to put a strain on the system. So I can say that today we are current on the NHIS. In fact, between 2016 and 2016 and now, we've increased the membership of the NHIS by over 2 million more subscribers than we had before. All of these are an indication that our country is now working again. This Ghana of limited success and everybody eternally complains. The complaints have not stopped. They will be there. That's part of human progress. But at least things are beginning to work in the country again. And I'm very, very confident that when it comes for the day of accounting on the 7th of December, the Ghanaian people will say, Nana wabo modi mo kwaso. Very confident about that because I know that the work has been done and it is being appreciated. Anyway, so I came to give you some quick resume of what's going on at home. The democracy that we all wanted and fought for so long is strong, it's healthy. We're getting ourselves ready for December the 7th. The Electoral Commission is going to compile a new register. It's the third time. It appears that there's now an 8-year cycle for the Electoral Commission to compile a register. It compiled a register in 2012. It compiled a register in 2004, and then before in 1995. So, but these last 3, including this one, are all on the 8-year cycle. I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, the national census itself is done on a 10-year basis. So it makes sense that we keep up the Electoral Commission, the Electoral Register to admit new people, take out all those who have died, etc. The intention is to begin, I believe, in April for the rest of the year. We want as many people as everybody in Ghana who can vote to register. It's important that we all exercise our civic duty to go and vote in December and choose the government that we want. I don't want anybody to sit somewhere and say, oh, I had nothing to do with what is going on in Ghana. We all have everything to do with what is happening in Ghana. We exercise it by our thumb and by the vote that we do. That's our involvement in our democracy. And that's what we should fight. So everything is going to be done to make sure that the reputation that we have as the beacon of democracy on the continent, as a country that is charting the path of democratic engagement on the African continent, that reputation is strengthened and heightened and enhanced in December this year. But before I take my seat, I just want to say for the 3rd time that I'm very expectant and hopeful and prayerful that the demand that I've made of our people, that they should renew my mandate one more time, 4 more from now.